Hey guys, today's lesson is going to be on word problems. So you might want to print this sheet off and kind of underline keywords as I go through, or either write the problems down. Either one's fine, whatever works. I just need to make sure you're listening to the lectures. Okay, a number decreased by 11. Now, decreased means that it's something smaller. So if you see that keyword, that's going to be minus. Now, if you look on Canvas, I have attached a copy of properties and also of words of operations. So you'll see a handout there where it's got words of operations and things that they mean. For example, decreased, minus, sum, add, those kind of things. So you might want to use that as a reference sheet. Is means equals. Okay, now we don't know what the number is, so anytime you don't know the answer to something, you let a variable represent that. Now, some people have a specific variable they like to use. I like to use the letter X. So we're going to have to write an equation, and then you're going to solve. Okay, now when it says identify the variable, that just means when you use that letter, X is going to be the number. So I'm going to put it in place of what that number is because I do not know. So a number, which is my X, decreased minus by 11 is equal to 46. So that would be your equation. To add that, to get rid of subtraction, we're going to add 11 to both sides. So X would come out to be 57. So you want to check that. So we're going to go, and remember you can check it in the calculator or your head. So we know now the number is 57. If I decrease that by 11, I should get 46, and I did. Okay, try number 2, and then come back and see if you got that right. Okay, the sum means add. We're doing 3 times a number, so that's going to be 3 times the number. So I'm going to use X. And 6, so we're adding 6, is equal to 39. So again, I'm letting X represent my number. So we have 3 times a number plus 6 is equal to 39. Now solve. Subtract 6. You get 33. Divide by 3, so X would be 11. You should remember these from maybe pre-algebra. So we're kind of working a little bit easier with easier problems and kind of moving ahead, okay? 14 less than. If you remember me talking in class the other day, if you have the verb is, that's an inequality. It doesn't have that. So this means that you're going to subtract. When you deal with twice, that means you're multiplying by 2 to some number equals 154. Now, you want 14 less than this. So if I had, like, we'll say a value of 28, and I wanted 14 less than 28, I would take 28 and I would subtract 14. So you're going to do the subtraction second. So you're going to have twice some number minus 14 is equal to 154. So we'll add 14. So that's going to be 168 divided by 2, and we get 84. Okay. Now we're getting to problems which is talking about age. Now, with age problems, you need to write down the names of the people that you're dealing with. So we're talking about two people's age. We're talking about Sherry and the dad. So Sherry is 31 years younger than her dad. So we do not know dad's age, so we're going to put the X. But we do know when we find dad's age, we can subtract 31 from his age because Sherry is 31 years younger. So I'm going to take his age and minus 31. Now it tells me that if you add their ages, the sum of their ages, and if it didn't print out good, that's a 61. So the sum of their ages, so this is Sherry's age. I'm adding the dad's age, and it's supposed to equal 61. So then I would have 2x minus 31 equals 61. Add 31. 2x equals 92. So x would be 46. So the dad's age is 46 years old. So I would put 46 minus 31 to get Sherry's age. And Sherry would be 15. So the question is, how old is Sherry? So you want to make sure you read the question to make sure you're answering it. So we only put 15 years old because that was the age that we was looking for because it asked for Sherry's age. Okay, number 5. The sum of two consecutive integers. Now, consecutive integers are one right after the other. So if I had the number 3, the next consecutive integer would be 4. So it would be all numbers beside each other. Remember, integers, you don't have the decimals. You don't see the decimals because the decimal is directly behind the whole number. So the next consecutive integer of 46 would be 47. So notice they're directly beside each other. So I do not know the first integer, so I'll let that be x. But I know the next integer is right beside that one, so I add 1 to it. Now I only do 2 of these, okay, because I'm looking for 2 numbers. So that's going to be my first integer. Once I find that, I add 1 to it to get the second. Now notice it says the sum again. So I take the first integer, I add the second integer, then I add 9. See where it says plus 9. That is going to equal 150. So this is my first integer, my second integer, adding 9 equals 150. Now this wants both integers, okay? So we're going to simplify first. So I get 2x plus 10 equals 150. 2x equals 140. X would be 70. So your first integer is 70. So 70 plus 1 would give you the next integer beside that, which is 71. So to check that, you would do 70 plus 71 plus 9, and that gives you 150. Now, if you want to pause the video and try number 6 and come back and see how you're doing with the word problems. Enrique Romiero bought a refrigerator for $50 more than half the original price. He paid $525 for the refrigerator. What was the original price? So my X this time is going to be the original price of the refrigerator. Your X is always the question. Okay, so he bought a refrigerator for $50 more than half the original price. Half the original price would be 1/2 X, because we've got half the original price, and then $50 more than. And that's going to equal $525. So now we subtract 50. And then when you get that, multiply by 2. So you have 475. Now multiply that by 2. And you should get $950. That was the original price. So to check it, you would divide that by 2. And then he paid $50 more than half the price. I put 5. $50 more than half the price, which would give you $525. Okay, I hope you got that one right. Okay, on the back is a geometry question. Okay, with the geometry question, you want to draw the picture. So we're going to draw a rectangle. If you remember, in geometry, opposite sides are equal. And it tells you that the length is 9 centimeters more than twice the width. Now with this, I like to use W for the width. So the length is 9 centimeters more than twice the width. So 9 centimeters more than twice the width. So both of those sides would measure the same. We don't know what the width is, so I'm going to put W. Now it says perimeter. If you remember, with perimeter, you're going to add all 4 sides. So add all of the W's around. So you have 2, 4, 5, 6. Add your constant numbers. That'll be 18. And it equals 60. Okay, go ahead and solve. So the W, the width would be 7 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 7 on that side and 7 there. Now to get the length, you do 2 times 7 plus 9. So that would be 14 plus 9, which would be 23. So the length would be 23 centimeters. Okay, add around all 4 sides, or you can do 2L plus 2W, either way. So we have 2 times 7 plus 2 times 23, and I have a perimeter of 60. So make sure your answers make sense, and your length should be twice as much as your width plus 9 more. Now, then look at what your question asks. Find the length. This would be your answer, 23 centimeters. And make sure you put your units with your answer. Okay, so when you deal with perimeter, put a note that you want to draw the rectangle. Because your questions, you'll have some similar questions probably on your test like these. So make sure you're understanding these types. In an evening, a sporting goods store sold twice as many t-shirts as shorts. T-shirts are $9 each and shorts are $14 each. The total amount of money taken in for both items was $256. find the number of each that was sold. When you're dealing with questions like this that has multiple parts, draw a picture to help you understand to organize the information. Now, this time, I'm going to say that this first box has my t-shirts in it. My second box has my shorts. Okay, so I'm kind of organizing this. I always say put a line under those boxes, and that's going to be your price line. Your price line is how much you're paying for those items. So t-shirts are $9. So I'm going to put 9 for the price. Shorts are $14. And it's always going to equal what your total is. So it's got a balance to give you $256. Now, inside this, you have to look at the difference between the t-shirts and shorts. So they sold twice as many t-shirts as shorts. So I don't know how many shorts were sold, but I know there would be twice as many t-shirts. Now, once you have that picture drawn, you're ready to put your equation down. Whenever you buy something, you always multiply the price to how many items you bought. Okay, it's going to be no different here. So we're going to multiply. That's going to be 18x plus 14x equals 256. So now add those together. We have 32x. So x would come out to be 8. So now I'm ready to fill that in. X would be here. So I'm going to change that to 8. So there were 8 shorts. 2 times 8 is going to now change to 16 t-shirts. Now I do notice that that is twice as many. Okay, now I need to check my money. So let's take 9 and multiply to 16. And then we're going to add, the shorts were $14 and multiply that to 8 pairs of shorts. So that works out to be $256. So your question was how many of each item were sold. So t-shirts, 16, shorts, 8. Okay. Here's another age problem. So we're going to put down Mike and his dad. Mike's dad is 25 years older than Mike. So I do not know how old Mike is. So I'm going to take Mike's age and add 25 to it to get Dad's age. In 5 years, the sum of their ages will be 65. How old are Mike and his dad now? Okay. So you got to think about this, because in 5 years, Mike's dad's going to get 5 years older and Mike's also going to get 5 years older. So when I take Mike's age, I have to add 5 to that for 5 years from now. Then I'm going to add Dad's age, and I have to add 5 to that for 5 years from now. Okay? And then it says that in 5 years from now, their sum will be 65. Okay, so when we work this out, we're going to be able to find Mike's age now. So this would be putting together your like terms first. So we'd have 2x plus 35 equals 65. 2x equals 30. So x would be 15. So Mike is 15 years old right now. Dad, I would add 25 to that. Dad would be 40 years old right now. So it says, how old are they? So this would answer your question. Mike is 15 years old now. Dad is 40. Okay, now to check it, in 5 years from now, Mike will be 20. And in 5 years from now, Dad will be 45. So notice that would total 65. Right now, the sum of their ages is just 55. Okay, the last one. When you deal with tickets, you want to draw the pictures just like with the shorts and the t-shirts, because you're dealing with this money and it'll help you organize. So I'm going to draw 2 tickets. And it's going to equal, notice the price, it's going to equal $130. Okay. Scott ordered tickets that cost $4 for children. So this would be a child's ticket, and this would be an adult. Remember, on the price line, put the money. Scott ordered tickets that cost $4 for a child and $7 for an adult. Now look inside the tickets and put the difference between. He ordered 6 more adult than child. So we don't know how many child tickets, but 6 more adult tickets. Okay, then you're going to take that and multiply. Now that 7 has to multiply to both parts, x plus 6. So we have 4x plus 7x plus 42 equals 130. 11x plus 42 equals 130. Subtract 42. That's going to be 88. Divide by 11, and x would be 8. So what we let be x was the child tickets. So there were 8 children tickets. You add 8 plus 6, which would give you 14 adult tickets. So how many of each kind did he order? The child, he ordered 8, and the adult, he ordered 14. Okay, so we need to check that and make sure that it does make sense. So the children tickets were $4 a piece. So we would do 8 times 4, which is 32. So we're going to do 8 times 4, and we're going to add that to the price of the adult tickets. They were $7, and he ordered 14. So notice that it was $130, so that money balances. Always check when you're dealing with word problems to make sure your answers make sense and you're fully answering the question. So you have to read very, very carefully. Now, those were the notes for today. I want to go through now and work out the questions that I had asked you to do for the last lecture on that study guide, so we can check these. Okay, so I think I have the correct answers circled and highlighted here for us to go through. Okay, so for -4, remember all those are real. That number can be written as a fraction by putting a 1 under it. So it would be rational. -4 would be an integer. It's not a whole number. Whole numbers do not include negatives. Square root of 15. You cannot write that as a fraction, so it is an irrational number. 0. You can put a 1 up under it and make it a fraction, so it would be rational. 0 is also in your integers, and 0 is in your whole numbers. 0 is not a natural number. That is your counting numbers where you start with 1. 3/4 is a fraction, so it would be rational. You don't see the fractions or decimals if it is an integer, so that's all that one is. 2, I can make that a fraction by putting a 1 under it. Sorry, that should be a 1. So that's going to be rational. It is an integer. It is a whole number, and it is a natural counting number. Okay? And recall, when you pick irrational, you don't pick anything else. So make sure you study those properties for your test. Going to order of operations, you want to do PEMDAS. Remember, with PEMDAS, it's very important to follow the rule. That stands for your parentheses or grouping. That stands for your exponents. Now, multiply and divide, it's whatever comes first from left to right. So sometimes you have to do divide before multiplication. So it's whatever comes first, left to right. The same thing with adding and subtracting. It's whatever comes first from left to right. Okay, so with this one, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square 8. So 8 to the second is going to be 64. Next, I'm going to divide. 64 divided by 4 is 16. Adding comes first from left to right, so I do that first. 6 plus 16 is 22. And 22 minus 2 is 20. Okay, number 12. We're going to take the 1 and put it in for the A. We're going to take the 2 and substitute for the B. And that would be 3 to the second. When you deal with fraction bars, you want to do the top and then the bottom. 1 to the second right there is going to be 1. So that's going to be 3 times 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 there. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 4 over 9. So that would give me 7 over 9. Okay, going to the next problems you had for homework. This was your properties. I would definitely be studying those Quizlets and the properties because this is another memorization thing. Okay, so first of all, what I like to check for is I like to see if any order has changed. If order changes, it's considered the commutative property. So you always want to look for order and see if anything is out of place. So I'm just going to kind of go through and highlight some order I see. I see that 3 is out of order. And when I mean out of order, 3 comes first here. And then you have the 2a plus 7. 3 comes last here. And then you have the 2a plus 7. So there's some order mixed up right there. Another order I see is number 18. Notice that the 3 is first here and the 3 is last there. And we have a 3 plus a 6 and then a 6 plus a 3. And I'm trying to see, I see another order. This one right here, 5 times 1/5 and 1/5 times 5. So I see another order. I believe that might be all of the, no, there's one more order right here. Okay, so I have a 4 in front and a 4 behind. Then I have an x plus y. Okay, so order means you're kind of comparing the first of the equal marks to the second of the equal marks and seeing if anything's out of order. If anything is out of order, it is commutative. So I'm going to use a C. The next thing I have to check is what went out of order. Was it the multiplication part or the addition part? So I notice here that the 3 is what flipped. that 3 is being multiplied to those parentheses. So that would be multiplication. Right here, there's only one sign, so that would be addition. Parentheses again mean multiplication. And this 4 is multiplied in front, multiplied it in, so that's multiplication because your addition did not change order. Okay? The next thing I like to look for is I like to look and see if there's any associative, which means the order's the same. It's just kind of the groupings flip-flopped. So look around and see if you see an associative. So we have a 4 and a 4, an 8 and an 8, and a 2 and a 2. So that order is exactly the same, but 8 and 2's grouped here and 4 and 8's grouped there. So when the order is the same and it's the way they're associated, that's associative property. So that would be associative of addition because there's only one operation there, addition. The next one that's pretty easy to look for is the distributive property, where you take what's on the outside and multiply to everything on the inside. So I see that here, 3 times x and 3 times 3y. Another one that's pretty easy to look for is that one with the reflection, where nothing's changed and the opposite two sides are exactly the same, which you see an A and an a B and a B, and a C and a C. So that is a reflexive. Nothing has changed. Okay, the next thing, if you ever see something adding zero, that's called your additive identity. So notice here you are adding 0 and you're getting back what you want, which is your identity. So that would be called your additive identity. Okay. Anytime you add a number and get 0 out, you would add the opposite of that number. So notice you take anything and you add the opposite and you get that to equal 0 and you're adding. That is called the additive inverse. That's how you get things to cancel out in an equation. You add the opposite or you do inverse operations. Anytime you multiply a number to its reciprocal and get 1, that is kind of like the opposite of multiplication is division, and it's going to cancel out to be 1. That is your multiplicative. Notice you're multiplying inverse, and that's like your reciprocal. Okay, you could have put your reciprocal properties there, and for this one you could have put the word opposites. Those words are interchanged, so you could have either one of those. Now it looks like we're just left with if and then. If you have an if and then and it is a flip, that's like your symmetric property where you can fold things on a line, an imaginary line, and things touch. So notice I have an if and then, and I have things flipped, okay? So 2 plus 3 equals 5, 5 equals 2 plus 3. That would be called your symmetric property. If you have an if and a then and it's actually solving an equation, you have to ask yourself what they have done to solve that equation. So right here, they would be adding 4. So 10 plus 4 would be 14. So that would be your additive property of equality. You're adding 4 to both sides, or additive property of equations. Notice here you would divide by 10 to solve it. It's not just a flip, they're actually solving it. So that would be called the division property of equations or equality. So anything you missed there, just kind of look over that for your test this week where you can get those in your mind. Okay, I think the next one that I gave you for homework was number 32. So remember, to get rid of fractions, you multiply by the common denominator. So a number 4, 3, 6, and 2 go into evenly would be 12. How many times does 4 go into 12? 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times -2 is -8. 6 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 1 times 6 is 6. Okay, now we're going to solve. I'm going to add 8. Subtract 6. Be careful here. You divide by the number beside the letter. So we're going to divide by 18. So 3/18, that's not even a whole. A whole would be 18 over 18. So be careful when y'all say that's 6 wholes. I get that mistake a lot. That's 1/6, okay, because you don't even have a whole. You'd have to have 18 parts to get a whole. So don't say that's a 6. Be careful. Okay, let's flip over. Okay, the next one you had was number 44. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 6. 54 minus 6 and divide by 2. So wait, when y'all did that one, make sure you did all 3 parts, okay? So make sure you've done all 3 parts because your test is going to ask for that, okay? So 54 minus 6 is 48. Divide by 2. When you divide by a positive, you don't flip it. So with that one, you're going to put it into Set Builder. Then you're going to graph it, closed on 24 to the left. So that's going to -infinity 24 bracket. And that was your set, your graph, and your interval. Okay, 47. Subtracting 2. Divide by 5. We'll go ahead and put the compound or. Subtract 1. Divide by 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph that. So we'd have a -4 and a 10. That's closed to the left. This one would be open to the right. We'll put that top part in set. You always want the lowest on the left. So -infinity, -4 bracket. Use a union, 10's open to positive infinity. Now, anytime it's written like this, this is considered an and. So we're going to work it as it is. That's going to give you a -15. Divide by 4. That's going to be -3.75 and 1. Okay, see if you have got that part right. Go ahead and try to put it in your 3 forms if you didn't do that. Okay, so we're going to dress that up. Remember, if it's in between, they both point to the left. And you also have the lowest number on the left, the highest number on the right. So you're just going to graph the stuff in between that. So both circles are closed, and we color in the middle. When it's in the middle, you color in the middle. It's representing an and, okay? An and, we have the things in common, and that would be the stuff in common with both of those, okay? If I was to pick the number 0 that's in the middle, Negative 3.75 is less than 0, and 0 is less than 1. So anything in between that would work. Now, it's not going to infinity, so we're just going to bracket both of those because the circles are closed. And then on the back, I think you had 3 questions as we're finishing up. So for this one, the absolute value bars are completely by themselves. So I'm going to set up that as it is. On the other side, you change the sign of everything not in the bars. And then you work both of those out. So I'm going to subtract x, subtract 5. So that one's going to be 2. Add x, subtract 5. And that one's going to be negative 4. Now remember, you have to check these to make sure that they work. And when you check these, you go back to the one where the bars were isolated right there, where it was the original problem. So you want to go back to the original problem up at the top where you had those bars to check it. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. The absolute value of 9 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. So that one works. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. Negative 4 plus 7 would be 3. Be careful because when you do the absolute value, that part comes out to be positive. If you're doing that in the calculator, remember it's math number 1. So you would have typed in 2 times negative 4 plus 5. Right arrow out. So that would give you the 3. So if you mark that one out, you probably forgot to take the absolute value of that number. So in this case, both of those work. So when you take the test, you can put it this way, or you can put it in your set builder. And let me go back and put the set builder and put the lowest one first. So it would be negative 4 and positive 2. I know some of y'all had asked me that question. Okay, you can put it either way with that. Okay, as we finish up, number 58. So with less than, it's going to be an and. So 2x minus 7 is less than or equal to 5, and 2x minus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 5. So we'll add 7. 7 plus 5 would be 12. Divide by 2, less than or equal to 6. Add 7. 2x is greater than 2, greater than or equal to 2. So x is greater than or equal to 1. Now, what I recommend is after you've solved the problem, graph it. Graph next before you put your answer. So I'm going to have a 1 and a 6. The lowest number goes on the left. Remember with and, we're looking for what they have that's the same. So we're looking for things they have in common. So I would be going to the left of 1, or excuse me, to the right of 1, to the left of 6. So the stuff they have in common is going to be the stuff in the middle, like earlier. And I'm going to put closed circles because both of those are closed. So when you take your test, this would be the answer that you would pick. Okay. Now, if it's in set, you need to use that letter with a vertical line. If it's in between, the X needs to be in between. You start with your lowest number. You point both arrows to the left. Both arrows to the left. Put your highest number. Close it. If it's equal to, you underline and put the equal part. So this means your answers are between 1 and 6, including 1 and 6. So anything in the middle of those numbers, or including those numbers since it's equal. So then you put a bracket, 1 bracket 6. Okay, the last one is an or. So we've got greater than or equal to 4, or. Now don't forget, when you're setting the second problem up, you flip that symbol and change the sign of that number. You set up 2 problems when you have absolute value. Notice on the study guide, I have all the absolute value on the back. This is where you set up 2 problems for each of those, okay? So we're going to subtract 3 and get 1. Sorry, I was doing that in my head. So we're going to subtract 3 and get 1. So here I'm going to subtract 3 and get -7. Okay, remember, bring down the word. Okay, before you put your answer, you need to graph it. So -7's on the left, 1's on the right. With or, you do not have to look for what's in common. You just graph them. So I'm going to graph this one close to the right. And I'm going to graph this one. And when you graph them, you put the answer on the number line, not above it. When I did it above a while ago, that was my work. When you put your final answer, you need to graph on the line. Now, once you have the graph, you're ready to put your answer in the other forms. So for or, it would be less than or equal to -7, because you put the lowest one first, or x is greater than or equal to 1. Now with your infinity, it goes to the left, negative infinity. You put a bracket on -7, use the U. You put a bracket on 1 to positive infinity. Okay. Now, what I want you to do today on this study guide is I want you to go through and circle these with me where you will know what you're doing for today's work. Okay, so let's circle number 10. And we'll try another fraction to see how that went. 13. 10 and 13. Okay, going to the back. Let's do number 36. And I want you to do all the word problems because that's what your lesson was on today. 37, 38, and 39. Do number 41, 48, 51, 55, 59, and 62. Okay, so work on those today. Make sure that you have your lecture notes. Don't forget to upload those to show me that you've done that work. Do not upload your study guide. When we get finished with the study guide, you will be turning that in during class. Okay, so keep working on the study guide as we're preparing for the test this week. And make sure you do the pink ones. Okay, and if you were behind, make sure you catch up on the ones that were already due. I hope you have a wonderful day.